This one technique handles low, flat, and high short balls equally well. Your coach probably never told you it's the most forgiving forehand flick that exists. In this lesson, I'll cover a variation of the flick called the side spin flick. Let me first review. For a normal flick, the racket angle is like this, with the racket head pointing forward. For the side spin flick, starting from that normal position, open the wrist a bit more and drop the racket head slightly. When do you use it? When your opponent's short touch is flat between no spin and backspin, where a normal flick won't be effective.
撇挑是存在于什么球呢？也就是说，对手这个球摆的比较平，转与不转之间，就是说你正常挑也挑不出来很好的效果。但是
But the ball is too flat for a push flick, which needs a downward trajectory. That's where the side spin flick comes in. If you try to push short against this flat, slightly no-spin ball, it'll pop up high, giving your opponent a chance to banana flick or attack. A long push won't work either. The ball sits too low for real quality. So open your wrist like I described. This is honestly the most forgiving forehand short ball technique in table tennis. Why?
把手腕打开以后，这个是其实我是觉得所有的正手短的技术里面容错率最高的一个技术，因为什么呢？它
It works on flat balls, high balls, and especially low balls. Because when I side spin flick, I'm not always going purely sideways. On a low ball, I angle slightly up and left. If the ball's a bit higher, I go more to the left. Even higher, I can angle downward. The racket angle sits between a push and a regular flick. This means even against heavy backspin, I can still side spin flick it up. That's the forgiveness factor. There's another advantage too.
就确保这个球你得发个特别转的给我，然后这个球很转，我还是能够撇起来，这个就是一个容错率。那么撇挑还有一个好的一个点就是
When you open the racket angle, understand that the side spin flick differs from a hook. A hook only goes cross-court, but the side spin flick can go both cross-court and down the line. That's a key advantage. Now let me demonstrate. Just like the push flick, the critical point is no backswing. Get to the ball, make contact, and let the rubber drag the ball with a sideways pull. This technique isn't about power or speed, just like the push flick, it's about placement. Push it deep to the baseline and disrupt your opponent's attention.
他要的是什么？不是力量，也不是速度，跟推挑是一样的，要的是落点。我只要推到底线，把对手的这种注意力，或者说他的
Push your
整个
opponent's hitting
拉球
point
的
back,
接球点
force
把它
them
往后
deeper.
放
That's the goal of the side spin flick.
那么我们
Focus
这
on
个
placing the
撇
ball
挑
as
的一个
long as
目的就达
possible.
到了。所
Be
以说我们
gentle
也有
with it.
侧重点，
Soft
我们撇
touch.
挑就把球
Watch
撇
the
得越长
racket
越好。
angle. You must catch the ball on the rubber
哎，
first.
要柔和
This
一
is
点，
why it's so forgiving and
柔
practical.
和一点，
It's not a
是吧？
one-shot winner.
啪
You're not trying to
对，
overpower
注意看
anyone.
版型，一定要
Just
接住
master
手球。
catching the
那么
ball
这
and
个为
flicking
什
it
么
out
说
with
到容
side
错率
spin.
高实用啊？因为
Work this
我
into
不是
real
说一锤
play,
子买卖，
and you'll
我不是
find your
说
forehand
我不是
options
对
keep
抗去撇，
expanding.
一样的，你只
Because
要
this
掌握好
technique has
接
such
住
a
球
high margin
撇
for
出球
error.
啊，这个点去融入到实战中，你会发现你的正手的一种手段或者说应对的方法会越来越多，因为它这个技术容错率很高，对吧？那你手腕打开，我
With an
随时
open
想摆有没
wrist,
有摆
you
准，
can short
对
touch
吧？我
anytime
随
or
时
flick
想挑
anytime.
就挑，
The
是吧？
difficulty
所以
is
说
committing to
这
that
个也
open
是
wrist
它
position.
难就难在
A
哪
hooked
呢？
wrist
我
feels
可
safer,
以
but it
大
limits
胆
your
的
forehand
把
short
手腕
ball
打开，
options.
因为
You must
勾着手
open
腕
the
大家
wrist
会
and
比较
train it
难
until
受，
it's
但是
second
你会
nature.
发现勾着手腕
Then you'll
它
fully
正手
unlock
会有
all
很
three
多的限制，
techniques:
你
the
必
flick,
须
push
把
flick,
手
and
腕打
side
开，
spin
然后把
flick.
它练到非
Once you
常稳
master
定，
these
那么
three,
你的
you
正
won't
手
need to
短的
rely
这三个
solely
撇
on
挑、
banana
推挑、
flicks
撇
or
挑，
just
你才
short
能够完
touches
全的
and
接
long
手。那么
pushes.
相信你解锁的这三个点，你不需要在很拼命、很单一的全台拧起来，或者说你只能摆准劈长，你会
You'll
多
have
了
the
一个什么
push flick,
推挑、
side
撇挑、
spin flick, regular
正常
flick,
挑，
and more.
还有
The
接力
real
挑。
difficulty
所以说
across
手
all
腕
these
其实这几
techniques
个
is
点
wrist
难就难在
control
手
and
腕的一个
adjustment.
调节跟
How do you
控制。
improve?
那么
First,
怎么
commit to
去
opening the wrist.
让
Second,
自己
remember
能
these
够
key
更好地掌
points.
握？首
Your
先，
racket
手
hand
腕
shoulder
一
must
旦打
drop
开，第一
lower
个
than
第
your
二
other
个打
shoulder.
开的时候，
Press
还
that
是这几个
shoulder
点。
down so your
现在
center of
反复提
gravity
醒大
comes
家啊，
forward and your
右肩
hand
对
stays
你的
close
持
to
拍
your
手的肩，
body.
右肩离
The
手腕
closer
离
your
左手
hand, the more control you
左肩
have.
离右肩低。
That's why
就是
your
你持
center
拍
of
手的肩
gravity
一定要
must
压
stay
在那个什么
forward.
重心才能离手，手离身体才能越近，越近才越有数。所以说，为什么提到重心一定要上来？你重心
If
不
your
上，你
center
伸
of
手是永
gravity
远是
isn't
没数
forward,
的。
reaching out will
所以说，
always
我们
lack
把手腕
control.
撇开以后，运用好
Open the
重心以
wrist,
后，那么
use
在按照
proper
专业说
body
这个
weight,
训练方法，
then follow the training method I
去走
described. This technique is especially effective against players who rely on borrowed power or play a single rhythm. They'll struggle because the ball's trajectory is completely different. It moves sideways and floats unpredictably. That's the key training focus for the side spin flick.
所以说这个就是撇挑的一个训练的一个重点。